Terminate operation. The enemy has the beacon. Grenade out.
Hey, what's going on YouTube? Welcome to another KillZone Shadow Fall commentary, looking at some pre-nerf sickle action. This is back in the day where you could use the sickle on a map like this, the wall, which typically I would only use something long range. But I remember when I got this gameplay, I think it was about a month ago, or maybe a month and a half ago. I was still new to the game. Remember guys, I'm still a KillZone noob. I'm not a veteran by any means. And was just having a lot of fun murking people close range with the sickle. So that brings us to our topic today, which is the nerfing of the sickle. We'll go over some of my observations, some of your observations in the forums, as well as look at some examples. So if you're new here, just to go back, pre-nerf, the sickle was basically the ultimate noob gun. I mean, it was basically the gun when I first got into KillZone Shadow Fall. I was using it non-stop. Maps like Penthouse, or even the park for that matter, particularly the hallway areas, you were almost guaranteed one-shot kills from pretty long distance. And I'm not a stats guy in terms of measuring meters, or is it 10 meters, is it 20 meters, but basically, and you'll see in this video, the gameplay in the background, I was murking people up close really easily. And of course, there was a lot of complaints, complaints on the forum, and I'm assuming there was, you know, Guerrilla Games has a voting system where you can make suggestions to change things in a game, and if it gets enough votes, they'll take a look at it and they'll actually make a change. It's pretty cool for a developer to do that. I don't know any companies off the top of my head that does that. So anyway, so it did get a nerf, and just to go over the stats real quick, the VC Sickle took a nerf about. First off, they increased the spread of the pellets by about 15%. So you're not really getting as a concentrated hip fire, or even when you ADS, it's not as concise. And I'm going to show you some examples of what those hip fire boxes look like, as well as when you ADS, what the differences are and how random that it can be. But the main thing is they reduced the damage range by 50%. So technically, and this is where people get confused in some other different games regarding damage and range, whether you nerf damage or whether you nerf range. I consider, you know, if you take a high damage weapon and reduce the range, you essentially ruin the range. Okay, so with the sickle, yeah, up close you will still get one-shot kills, but it's going to be considerably difficult that they cut that range down in half. Right. So with that, let's why don't we go take a look at some footage first. We'll take a look at the actual pellet spread. Alright, so looking at this, you can pretty much see it's kind of all over the place. So the first shot's all the way to the left, so that was just a straight up hip fire. And then you could see next to it, I do another hip fire, but with the incendiary rounds. Am I saying that right? Incendiary rounds. There we go. And then the third one is another hip fire, and you can see it's pretty inconsistent. Like the first hip fire was kind of all over the place, and then the third one was pretty centralized. I ran this a few times, but I felt like this was kind of the best clip to articulate all this. And then the last one was ADSing, which you know, it's kind of funny because I thought that ADSing would actually give you a tighter spread, but it actually doesn't. You're much better off hip firing when using the sickle right now. And it's interesting because now looking back at all this footage, because I have not used the sickle since they nerfed it. I remember right before it did get the nerf, I made that thread that's still going on, I think, right now. Did they nerf the sickle? I noticed that I never ADS'd, and for some reason I thought that you'd get a tighter spread if you did ADS, but pretty much proves in this video that if you do ADS, you're not doing yourself any advantage. You still want to only hip fire this thing. But let's get into the damage. I'm not a stats guy, like as I mentioned, so I don't have measurements in terms of meters. The test we're going to go through right now is going to show you basically how many shots it'll take to kill and where to go for those shots, meaning upper torso, head, lower body, you know, stuff like that. The test dummy that I was killing with the sickle was using his noob tube to measure the distance between he and I didn't record all those. Really, just go by sight, guys. You know, I'm going to show you how many shots it'll take at different ranges. And shout out to gas mask from the forums and the waves, Halleck and Cody Cowley for all participating. We spent a lot of time last night in a private match going through the noob tube, but I got this sickle footage and really wanted to address it. Next week I'm going to have a full video on all the myths and things that we could prove about the noob tube, whether it should be nerfed, and you know what, that's a whole other topic we'll get into in the next video. But let's go take a look at the individual clips when we're going to measure the distance to get kills, whether it's hip fire, ADS, and where to get those hits on the enemy body. Okay, so testing ADS. Now watch where you can see some of the live rounds going off to the side. You can see like 2 at least go off. I think I even spot 3. I'm going to do a slow motion here. That's pretty close range, and it took 4 shots with ADSing. I'm going to slow it down for you real quick. You can see at least 2, maybe 3 live rounds go off to the side of the wall, not actually hitting him. Alright, so now it's basically using hip fire at the same basic distance. 2 shots and he's dropped. Alright, so another test. He's a little bit closer now, except I'm going to ADS. Now watch, you can still see those live rounds going on. I spotted at least 4 of them missing him that time. Still dropped him pretty fast, but if you do watch, you can still see at least 3 to 4 pellets going off to the side of his body on actually both sides. Alright, so this one I'm going to just hip fire, but I'm going to aim for the head and the upper torso, and you got 2 shots and he's down. So definitely you want to hip fire, and you want to go for the head and for the upper torso. So here, just playing around with the incendiary, why can't I say it right? Incendiary rounds? I'm sorry, I'll never get it right. We're just testing around to see the time it kind of takes to drop someone. See that one, it took 2 shots to actually kill him. And then this last one, I just want to get up close and just shoot once and just see actually how long it takes before he burns out. So anyway, wait. And then he drops. I actually thought, because I've seen a lot of people where I'll shoot him with it and then they'll be on fire and then they'll just keep walking away. I'm like, did I not hit them? I find those types of rounds are good for long distance or people that are running from you. You could just keep spraying them with it and they'll eventually flame up enough that they'll die. Alright, so that's pretty much it for all the footage. We actually met in a private match last night, all of us, to test the noob tube. And I got a boatload of footage to go through. I should have that video up hopefully sometime in next week, and that'll clear up some of the myths and facts regarding the noob tube in terms of distance, radius, and we also worked on the grenade glitch, you know, where someone dies and they basically turn into an invisible wall for grenades, for noob tubes, as well as even laser trip mines. So what I want to hear is your conclusion. So based off this footage, do you find any use for the sickle anymore? Do you want them to buff it? I know, you know, when you have games like this, people ask for a lot of nerfs and then they ask for them buffed back, and it goes back and forth and back and forth. So I'm really curious as to see in the comment section as to what your thoughts are on the sickle. Do you want it to go exactly back to where it was? Do you think it just stay the same? I personally, here's my conclusion. I think it needs just a slight buff. It's still useful if you hip fire someone and aim for the head and aim for upper torso. You still can get a 1 shot up close, and you still can get probably a 2 shot if you aim for the head and upper torso. But you know, as you saw, do not ADS with this thing, and you want to make sure that you're hip firing all the time. So I personally think 50% was too much. I would just I'd buff it maybe 15%, I think. So but that's it for me, guys. I hope you enjoyed this commentary. Please leave me a like if you enjoyed the comment. Please leave me a comment. Why do I always fuck that up in the end? If you enjoyed the content, not comment. See, I'm totally fishing for comments here. If you enjoyed the content, please leave me a like and leave me a comment. And as always I say, if you dislike the content, leave me a dislike, but leave me a comment why you disliked it. And leave me a comment if there's anything you want to see on the next video. And the next video is going to be all about noob tubes, and as I said before, I got a ton of footage to go through, and I want to make it as detailed as possible. So give me some time on that, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.